I'm Hank Blank still, and welcome to the Orange County chapter of the American Advertising Federation podcast. This podcast is about interviewing individuals from the industry of advertising and marketing. And today I'm happy to have Martin Borsanyi, an old friend from Jacuzzi, and I met him when when he was in the agency business. So, Martin, why don't you tell folks a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me, Hank. I'm Senior Director of Marketing at Jacuzzi Brands. Jacuzzi is the premier manufacturer of portable hot tubs and luxury bathtubs, going back 60 years from when the Jacuzzi brothers emigrated to the United States. I got my start actually in public relations. While still in college, I was a gopher for a PR firm, a healthcare specialty PR firm. From there, I was recruited into a startup where it was a medical device startup where we had basically created an internet remote controlled microscope that could be controlled over the internet. It just was kind of during the dot-com boom. So we sold that into anatomic pathology labs where they had to service remote hospitals as well as the drug safety department of pharmaceutical companies. After that, we actually sold the company, and I transitioned back to into the agency space, where for the next 10 years I've focused on digital.
So you worked on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Client side, you walked on both sides of the street, let's
Yeah.
say. And client agency side, how are they the same, and how are they different? Which one's most stressful?
I would start, obviously there are very much pros and cons to each. And I think with the agency side, a lot of it are the things that you would think that it's definitely a fun atmosphere. It's a engaging atmosphere. A lot of young people, a lot of creative people.
More drinking.
More drinking, more video games set up in the middle of it. More pool tables, kind of the things that you would think of at an agency. But yeah, I mean, so there are cultural things, but there are also serious things like you tend to work on multiple projects, multiple clients, multiple products. You work with different specialties, so you're working in very close proximity to people who are experts in their field, and so it can be incredibly exciting and incredibly valuable and a learning experience. You know, the flip side of that is you're not necessarily the master of your own fate, right? So no matter how good you are at your individual specialty, whether it's copywriting or whether you're the best account person or the best creative person, you could walk into a client and ultimately lose that business because they don't like the creative or they don't like something else about the business. And, you know, we've shared stories about this. And so, you know, in certain markets, if you're in a large media market where there are multiple where there is a large agency ecosystem and you're good at your job, it's very easy to move on to the next client. In other places, that's less so. So I think there's a level of existential dread that comes with working in agencies that doesn't happen on the client side. I can tell you my wife sleeps significantly better now that I'm on the client side.
So, you know, I've been in the business a long time, and I think that the marketing environment is more challenging today.
Yeah.
You know, there's social media, there's Legion, then there's Marketo, Magento, you know, programmatic media buying, you know, all these new things coming up every day. How do you keep up with it?
I think technology, I would say that actually goes back to the previous answer, which is I think as a client, one of the value adds of an agency is that they do bring expertise in that. So
so you look at them as your partner?
Yeah, so I think absolutely that one of the advantages of an agency is that we rely on our agencies to understand you know what platforms we should be in or where we should be, and you know it doesn't absolve us of responsibility of what's going on. But back to the original question about the complexity. Yeah, I think technology and consumer behavior, which kind of go hand in hand, have sort of blown up what we do on a daily basis over time.
Great. So as a marketer, how do you measure career success? Is it money? Is it promotions? Is it career satisfaction?
This is going to sound really preachy. I think when I've measured success well, I mean, there absolutely, as a digital marketer, there are certainly KPIs that you measure, right? And there are KPIs that you go out to the business and say, strategically, you know, I spent a lot of time in analytics, and when you develop analytics and you develop a KPI, it ultimately has to ladder up to a strategy, and the strategy has to, you know, define what your goal is, and the goal has to define, okay, well, what's your KPI that measures that goal, right? So clearly there are KPIs. I would say from a broad level, when I've encountered success in my career, it's been from trying to show up every day and be of service to the to the people I work with, and that might be the people I report to. It could be the people I work with, or the people who report up to me.
So let's talk a little bit about new business. You know, you're a great brand, Jacuzzi. I'm sure that every agency would like to have your logo on their PowerPoint chart or in their lobby. And I've done a couple agency reviews for you, you know, over the course of time. So let's talk. How many cold calls do you receive every week?
I used to get about 10 to 15. Today, I have no idea because I don't check my voicemail. And in fact,
Yeah.
I have my recording on my voicemail says, I don't check this voicemail, but here's my email and shoot me an email. So
Yeah.
I actually
I've talked to
don't
some
know.
other
I will say it was.
clients.
I will say it was shocking when my LinkedIn went up and that how quickly people found me and how aggressively I started getting calls. I say aggressive. I mean, it's, you know, people are doing their job, but that very quickly I realized the only people who were calling my landline at work were people who were trying to solicit business.
I've heard that from other clients that they just don't answer their office phone. And what about, do you receive mailings from agencies?
Not a lot. I mean, I would say when we do receive them, they're always open, they're always reviewed. I think they're, you know, usually we'll say, oh, it's clever. I've never once responded to it. I've never yet had one where we responded to it and said, oh, let's do a pitch with these people because this mailing was so interesting and compelling. So
Do you
they
save them?
Pardon me?
Do you save them or throw them away?
So I would have to say throw them away because I can't think of anything that's in my office. But they are certainly memorable. They do get opened. I would say that. But I don't know. They say that about jingles, right? Jingles are memorable, but people don't take action on them. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if there's data around that. But but it's a similar thing. Like we open them, we pass them around, but they don't necessarily. If there's not a fit, and I'm going to assume you'll have more questions. But if it's not a fit for what we're doing, it doesn't really necessarily
Waste
help
the
the
time.
cause. Yeah.
So, but do you look at your emails that you get from
I do.
agencies?
I do.
And do you scan them or have time to read
I
them?
do them very quickly. You know, I do read them quickly. I think, you know, I'll get emails from, I'll get, you know, the worst are people who say like, hey, do you have 15 minutes to do a call? And I know those calls are never 15 minutes, but, you know, do you have 15 minutes to do a call? We're a social SEO agency, and I look and I scan and they're in New York City.
Right.
And so it's kind of like for multiple reasons, you know, first of all, there's no attempt to understand my business. I mean, if you talk about what is an effective email, which we may be getting to, but an effective email to me shows some awareness of what my business is, some awareness of how we sell, what's important to me, what my channel is, right?
Okay.
That it's not some awareness that I have a business or that I'm managing a marketing portfolio that is not necessarily the same as your other clients. So some attempt to understand what's important to me. The other thing would be work in the category, right? So some domain expertise of the category, or if not immediately my category, because I realize portable, you know, say portable hot tubs or luxury bathtubs. Some analogous, you know, so maybe home remodeling, or you know, something that would speak to expertise that you can bring to me. But if you're a generic provider of search engine optimization or pay-per-click media, very difficult for me to say, oh, I'm gonna of the 100 emails I receive a month, I'm gonna take a call with you.
So is there anyone, I hear that, you know, something that, you know, outreach that knows a little bit about your business, knows about your channels. Is there anyone, when you've been on the agency side or client side, has there been any piece or any outreach that's really blown your mind or said, wow?
I think the most compelling ones are where you can check those boxes, right? Where you can check the box of you understand our business, you have some expertise, and what I was going to say is also if you can show it. So some of the most compelling pitches are where, so for example, there was an agency that developed short videos for lead nurture. Well, their pitch was a short video. You know, and so if you can make your expertise manifest in some way, you know, if you can demonstrate your expertise through, you know, make your pitch a demonstration of your actual work is very compelling as well.
So what advice would you give to agencies?
It's kind of, I would say again, you know, I get it that you're using, you know, all agencies. It's a very different world than when I started, you know, even 10, 15 years ago. I remember showing up at the agency when I first left the startup and came back to the agency world. They had 3 people in sales, and I was like, what do they do? I couldn't understand the idea that they needed dedicated people doing. Now every agency has kind of dedicated banks of people, cold calling all day, and with robust CRM systems that are pounding you with emails and repeated emails, and I think again, it's be selective, understand what my business is, understand what my concerns are. If you can get in another way, I think one person came in through LinkedIn, but if you can show that you have expertise in the field, is a much bigger is going to do much more than something that's big and flashy. I would also say educational. I haven't spoken about it, but I think the brands that are willing to provide content, and a lot of the platforms now and software products do very robust content marketing. Right. I'm definitely going to talk to you. I'm definitely going to be appreciative. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a fit right away with what we need. But people who can help educate, kind of goes back to the difference between client and the agency side. I don't have time to know exactly what every platform is. Now I have people on my team who have slightly more expertise than I do, which is great. You want people who are smarter than you on your team. But help educate. If I'm not, help educate me on why I should be using your platform or your product. And it might be a good fit. It might not be a good fit.
Great. Well, thanks very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.